You are Locked On Warriors POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors POSTCAST. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR, but that was a long time ago. You might also know me from this show. And tonight, the Golden State Warriors, they made all the key plays down the stretch as they pulled out a 105-98 win over the Houston Rockets. And despite playing on the back end of a back-to-back, the Golden State Warriors still started Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler, signaling to the rest of the team and to the rest of the NBA that this team means business and is here to compete down the stretch in all of these super meaningful games. And the ugly win tonight shows the grit of this team. And really, this win is showing that the Warriors are starting to find their identity in the Jimmy Butler era. We got to dive into how they close this one out, and we got to give some props and recognition to some of the role players on this team. But first, we'll break it all down. I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please, 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 if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks also for tuning in on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed and making us your first listen following these Dubs games. Make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Charlie Walter does a great job. The Warriors in this one opened up a 24-point lead. That was more than halfway through the third quarter. It was in like the back half of the third quarter was when the Warriors reached their biggest lead of this game. They really had this one in control pretty much since the opening tip. The Rockets took a very brief lead in the middle of that first quarter, but the Warriors played really good defense early on. The Rockets looked like they were struggling a little bit. They also looked pretty tired out there today. And the Warriors, I mean, even though they didn't shoot well, they definitely didn't shoot well from three, shoot below 40% from the field, and you still find a way to win the game. And we'll talk about why. And there's a couple reasons. First thing I want to highlight is turnovers. The Warriors have done a great job lately. This is a team that has been really bad in the Steph Curry era, in the Steve Kerr era, with their turnovers. They've made up for a lot of it with their three-point shooting, but this is a very different team, and we've seen the growing pains, not just this season, but last year as well, with the Warriors trying to kind of get out of these old bad habits that they've created. And I'm talking specifically about Steph and Draymond and their full-court passes, their one-handed passes, all that kind of BS that ends up in a lot of turnovers and not a lot of points for this version of the Golden State Warriors. Sure, that worked when you had Kevin Durant and Clay on the team and things like that, but it's a lot harder to do that when you got Moses Moody and Buddy Hield running around out there catching those one-handed passes on the fast break. And there's those touchdown throws, as Bob likes to call them on the broadcast. But the Warriors tonight, and really they've been doing this for a while now, they've been limiting the turnovers, and tonight they definitely won the turnover battle. They forced 20 turnovers for the Houston Rockets, only had 11 of their own, and they capitalized on it. 25 points off of turnovers for the Warriors, only 14 for the Rockets. You win that one by 11. That is a big reason why the Warriors were able to kind of neutralize the second chance points that the Rockets got and all of those damn rebounds. The Warriors got out-rebounded by 10 whole rebounds, and they still figured out a way to win this one. And even though you got out-rebounded, even though you didn't shoot very well, you still found a way to win this game. And the way the Warriors did this, it was really impressive to me late in this game, how when it felt like it was slipping away, I'm talking about late in that third quarter, early in the fourth, when the Houston Rockets looked like they had all this energy left and the Warriors looked so flat. Every shot looked bad. Every jumper looked bad. And there was a stretch there where it just seemed like the Warriors were going to shoot themselves out of this game and let the Rockets completely take over and run away with it. The Warriors never surrendered that lead, and the reason is the Rockets shrunk it to just 2 within the first 5 minutes of that fourth quarter. Steph ended up hitting a couple big threes, and Jimmy slowing the game down, getting to the free throw line. Steph slowing the game down, getting to the free throw line. Steph did a great job of getting to the line tonight. He led the Warriors in free throw attempts, actually, with 9 of them. That rarely happens with Steph because he rarely gets those calls. But tonight, he was getting the calls. He was getting to the line. He converted 8 of 9. And the Warriors as a whole tonight, 24 of 27 from the free throw line. That is good for 88.9%. And man, oh man, this is so much different than this team felt like, even just a week or a couple weeks ago when you were still just happy when the team shot better than like 72 or 73% from the charity stripe. Now, with Jimmy Butler on this team, if they're not at like 83, 84% every single night with Jimmy Butler and Stephen Curry on this team, then there's a problem. But that's a huge lift for this team. It gives them a whole nother added dimension of this offense that they've really been missing. It gives them balance. It gives them the ability to get downhill and attack inside. Late in this fourth quarter, when the Rockets had really crunched this Warriors lead, the Warriors called a timeout with about 3 minutes, just over 3 minutes to play. And out of that timeout, the Warriors looked totally different. It was like a switch just got activated for the big three, for Jimmy, for Draymond, and for Steph. And they knew it was closing time, and they just took over. And that is what you envisioned if you were a fan of this Jimmy Butler trade. You knew that Jimmy coming in here was going to be, Jimmy's a lot of things, and he's getting older, but one thing isn't going to change. This man knows how to close in clutch minutes. And that's what he gave you tonight. That's what he's given you every game so far since he's been here. Even in the loss last night, it was still, you still like, I said it on the show last night, you still liked what you saw from the Warriors' big three down the stretch of last night's game, even though they lost. And tonight, you saw more of the same. And this is who this team is now. They're going to beat you up defensively, hold you to within a close margin. And if it's close at the end of the game, it's going to be the Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond show. And they are just going to take over and do their thing. And out of that timeout that Steve Kerr called, they ran a play to get Draymond going downhill. And the only reason that works, Draymond converted that layup. It was a pretty easy bucket out of a timeout, honestly, in the half court set, but it worked flawlessly. And the only reason why is because there's so much attention on Steph, on Jimmy in these moments, because everybody knows who, like, their track record is just, it speaks for itself. Jimmy, one of the most clutch players in the NBA in the last 5 or 6 years. He has been constantly in the NBA Finals, taking the Heat, way further than anybody expected them to go. And Steph, obviously, being one of the greatest closers the NBA has ever seen. And, we can relive all the, the Mike Breen double bang in OKC and all those great moments of Steph's career that he's had just so many of. But with all the gravity that those guys draw, it's going to leave a lot of open shots for other guys. And we've seen Draymond's offense kind of have a little bit of an uptick since Jimmy got here. We've seen Draymond kind of hitting those floaters in the lane. He did that a couple times tonight. The little step inside the free throw line runner. Draymond developing some touch on those. I really like that. But ultimately, down the stretch, Draymond Green making that drive out on that first possession. Then the Warriors get a stop. And on the very next possession, Jimmy immediately drives inside to the paint and gets another bucket. Then the Warriors force a turnover. So you got 2 buckets and 2 stops out of this timeout. And then you get a Jimmy Butler ISO along the baseline, gets to the free throw line, draws the foul. You get both of those free throws converted. That is a huge momentum swing. That ate up about 1.5 to 2 minutes of those final 3 minutes. And it gave the Warriors complete control of this game as it winded down the stretch. Steph hit a couple big shots too. He had a couple huge threes down the stretch. But I'm really impressed by the way that this team is able to score inside in these moments. This is the thing that has been missing. The Warriors have been chucking up shots from outside in clutch minutes for the last decade and a half. That's nothing new. The thing that is new for this Warriors team, this version of the Golden State Warriors, is having a guy like Jimmy Butler that can get to the line, that can get into the paint whenever he wants to. I mean, the guy, that ISO play that they ran for him with 1:30 left, about 2 minutes left somewhere in there, he caught the ball in the corner at the 3-point line, and just everybody cleared out, and everyone just let Jimmy go to work. He did his slow, methodical, very controlled pace, kind of dribbling back and down, and before he hit him with the spin move and tried to go with the dunk, but got clothesline basically going up for that dunk. But that's what you want. That's what this team has been missing. The only guy that could maybe even do that before was Jonathan Kuminga, sometimes Andrew Wiggins, but it wasn't quite the same. And nobody's going to be making those. Neither of those two guys have as good of decision-making ability as Jimmy Butler. We have seen the passing and how good that passing is. It's honestly really, I know Jimmy is an all-star caliber player. There's very few things he does on a basketball court poorly, but I did not expect him to be he is so good with his passing. He's not ever really been a guy to, rack up the assist highlights. He's not going behind the back, all those kind of fancy Steph passes that we see, but Jimmy, again, with 4 more dimes tonight, and they are such good vision dimes. There's so many like little dump offs that he has in the lane to get easy open layups. He always makes the right choice with the ball in his hands in these clutch minutes. And that's the thing that the Warriors were missing. It's really, I think this is an identity defining win for the Warriors. It shows what this team is. They are a good defensive team. They're going to keep things close. You held the Rockets. They didn't score over 30 points in any of the 4 quarters tonight. And ultimately, when it comes down to clutch minutes, you trust those 3, that big 3 of Draymond, Steph, and Jimmy Butler. And a lot of people did not think that this was going to work this well. Ever. They didn't think it was going to click with the fit with Jimmy Butler here in Golden State. But this dude still doesn't really know plays. He's saying, Jimmy Butler himself is saying that he's out of shape. He's telling everybody that he's rusty and that once he gets his wind back, things will get better. And oh my God, guy just played 35 minutes on the back end of a back-to-back where he played 30 minutes last night too. He had another 19 points, plus 10, plus minus, led the Warriors with the plus minus, tied for the lead with Moses Moody, 6 of 6 from the line, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. Jimmy Butler is doing it all, man. Like, this guy has just been everywhere for the Warriors since he has joined this team. He has helped them. He has elevated them in virtually every single aspect of playing basketball. Better on defense, better on offense, better in transition. Better spacing, better shooting. Everything has gotten better, even though Jimmy isn't going to be the one, making a bunch of threes. He did make one tonight, one of his first 3 as a Golden State Warrior. But as a whole, the Warriors, they shot 39% from the floor, 26% from 3-point range, and they still won this game, got out rebounded. And that's all because of the clutch play of Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green, and the defense that they played all night long. And we also got to mention some of these role players, man, because tonight, every single Warriors starter scored in double figures. Draymond Green, 13 points for the second night in a row. As I said, his offense has really started to uptick in these recent days since the Jimmy Butler acquisition. But it's the other 2 guys who got the starts tonight, finally, over Buddy Hield. Moses Moody and Brandon Podziemski, I got to give some love to the Warriors. Tonight, they were starters, but usually they're the bench, the Warriors guards who aren't Stephen Curry. Let's talk about them next on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Today's show is sponsored by WayFair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine, whether you're tidying up, cleaning out, or just want to give your space a new look and start the new year off fresh. WayFair has everything you need, all within your budget. I actually have several pieces from WayFair throughout my apartment, and they always seem to have exactly what I'm looking for, which is kind of tough. San Francisco apartments are not known for being very spacious. It's hard to find good-looking furniture that fits. WayFair has been my go-to. My favorite part, the free and hassle-free delivery for every single item, even larger ones. And Wayfair's site was so easy to navigate. I found everything I needed in no time. Give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and tonight the Warriors 105-98 win over the Houston Rockets. Just taking a quick peek at the chat. Kind of quiet tonight, but got to say what's up to my guy Daniel, one of our everydayers. Always responds to the yo at the beginning of the show. I gotta admit, I worked, as I say at the top of every show, I worked in radio for a long time, worked at KMBR. I processed for a long time how I was going to start this show, how my intros were going to go. And I gotta shout out John Lund from the Papa and Lund show on the formerly of the Papa and Lund show, the midday show on KMBR that is no more. But John Lund always has one of the greatest intros, and he just lets that yo or hey or whatever exclamation he uses to start the show that day. He kind of switches it up, but he drags that one on for a long time. But I do kind of gotta give a shout out to my guy John Lund. Kind of stole that intro a little bit from him, but hey. That's what we all do. We all just borrow stuff from each other anyways in the industry. It's just kind of how it goes. Shout out my guy, John Lund, and shout out my guy, Daniel, one of my favorite everydayers. What's up, my dude? But tonight, man, the Warriors, a big win, 105-98 over the Houston Rockets in Houston, closing out this 6-game road trip, the last game before the All-Star break. Like, this was a scheduled loss, man. Like, the Warriors the very last game of a 6-game roadie. Like, they've been on the road for what feels like forever. Everybody played in the game last night. You're playing in a back-to-back. The Warriors arrived in Houston at like 3 a.m. They didn't go to bed till like 4. You probably saw Steve Kerr, like complaining and moaning about it to the media earlier today. And I kind of get it, but no one's going to give the Warriors any sympathy. I mean, as long as you got Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Steve Kerr on this team, no one's listening to any complaints coming out of any of their mouths about scheduling or who they got to play or when they got to play or anything like that of the sort. So they're not going to get any sympathy, but the Warriors do play the most back-to-backs in the NBA this year, and this one was a particularly tough one, especially going into Houston, a place where the Warriors aren't very well liked. But hey, you wouldn't know that the Warriors aren't very well liked in Houston based on how the end of that game went, where Steph literally got like a standing ovation from a giant section of the crowd in Houston, which was, I mean, like overrun by Dub Nation fans. Kind of crazy in Houston, of all places. It's like the number one place I expect to hear boos for Steph. I mean, he even took a second to start his post-game interview, like took off the headset and just like was soaking it in all on the court. Like a great visual to see Steph just like soaking in the adoration from all these Warriors fans that were out there in Houston. He filled up like half of the lower bowl. And they all stuck around to just watch him on the postgame. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But it wasn't just all the Steph Curry show today, even though he played great down the stretch, even though he had 27 points and 5 3-pointers. Steph played great tonight. But without Brandon Podziemski and without Moses Moody, this team does not win this game tonight. Brandon Podziemski specifically, like, I want to start with him because Moses Moody had a great game, got the start tonight, went 4-9, hit a big 3. Had some great defensive plays as well. Had 2 steals and 2 blocks for Moses Moody. So 4 stocks tonight for him. That's a pretty solid number. But Brandon Podziemski, I saw a little bit of Tony Parker in this guy tonight, man. Like in that, I mean, I don't know why I haven't thought of this before, but that is exactly who this guy needs to pattern his game off of. Tony Parker and Brandon Podziemski do a lot of very, very similar things. Now, Tony Parker was infinitely faster than Brandon Podziemski. Brandon Podziemski does not have that level of speed or quickness, but he does have the same kind of feel. I saw Brandon Podziemski go off the left foot with the left hand in a fast break transition layup. Like he didn't even jump. He did the Tony Parker. Like he quick shot him on the layup. And I have not seen anybody do it that smoothly since Tony Parker. I mean, in Brandon Podziemski, the way that he takes charges, the way that he's just like kind of crafty in the interior, that is exactly who Tony Parker was. And man, Brandon Podziemski just, I mean, ever since I kind of like drew that connection to my brain, that's all I could see tonight was Tony Parker running around out there. But this version of Tony Parker isn't French and isn't bald. And I mean, I loved what I saw from Brandon Podziemski tonight. He also he went 7 of 17 from the field. He drained a couple of threes. He had 5 rebounds. He had 4 assists. He had 4 steals. He had a block. I mean, this guy was everywhere tonight. He had 18 points for the Warriors. Brandon Podziemski has been so good since returning from injury. And I mean, this guy never was healthy to start the season. Remember, he started the year with that face mask because he couldn't stop getting his nose broken. It felt like every time he took it off, he'd just get another elbow or random, like, flailing fist to the face. And he like leads the league in getting hit in the nose. We've talked about this a lot this year. It's been a thing. But Brandon Podziemski, since he has shed the face mask and actually been able to, just go out there and play basketball and not worry about some ailment that he has. He's been really good, man. Like ever since he came back from injury, he's looked like the guy that the Warriors were afraid to get rid of this last offseason in all those different, trades that were floated around out in the ether. But it's the reason Lauri Markkanen didn't come to the Warriors. And, you like to see, like, there are nights like this that kind of give you some encouragement that maybe that is the right choice going forward. I think that's still a very TBD situation. Who knows how both these guys' careers are going to pan out. Markkanen's also been hurt for the majority of this year with that back injury that's been nagging him. But Brandon Podziemski, so good tonight. So good. And Moses Moody too, man. Like he really helped the Warriors be steady in that early going of this one. I mean, defensively, he had some really, really good possessions. And some of the shots that he took on offense, like he had a very nice decisive moment early in the first half where he had a nice up fake from the 3-point line and, got the Houston defender to close out on him just a little bit and just blew right by him to the rim, immediately just dropped it in for the layup on the drive. And It's that type of decisiveness, decision-making, and playing with confidence that the Warriors have really lacked in getting Jimmy Butler. It all loops back to Jimmy, man. Getting Jimmy Butler made this Warriors team start playing like they believe in themselves. Moses Moody did not hesitate for a damn second on that play. Drove the lane over a taller defender with another defender on his back. Didn't matter. He knew that was the right play. Didn't second guess it. Didn't chuck up a three-point contested three or kind of get in the in-between space just inside the three-point line, but outside of the paint and then stall out like we see the Warriors do a lot on these, after pump fakes where they try to drive and then kind of hesitate just a little bit. There was no hesitation. It was just all gas, no brakes, right to the cup. And that's exactly what you got to do in those moments. It's what Jimmy has instilled in this Warriors team. I mean, that's really it. It's the confidence. It's the winner's mentality. And it's guys believing in themselves, playing like champions, playing winning basketball. That is how you win games. And the Warriors, this is a great win tonight. Like thank God, they have this All-Star break coming up. They don't play another game for until Friday of next week. So they get a week plus a day to rest, a week plus a day for Jimmy Butler to learn some plays for the Warriors. And maybe, maybe he and Draymond can get in the lab a little bit while during the break. I mean, you don't want the guys running themselves into the ground or anything like that, but we hope that they can kind of get some things going and maybe Jimmy can start to learn a play or two and not just play based on feel. Like it looks like he's playing pickup ball out there, but that's very encouraging because as soon as this starts to click, I mean, Jimmy Butler's going to look so much better with this Warriors team once we get into, playoff season, because if the Warriors are there, they're still hanging out at the bottom of the play-in, but the way things are going, I think they'll be there. And when they do get there, Jimmy Butler is going to be a better version of himself than he is right now. All great things for the Warriors, but the best thing for the Warriors right now, other than this win, is that they finally get a damn rest. This road trip ends. They do have to play a game in Sacramento after the All-Star break before coming back home for that game against the Mavericks, where they will retire Andre Iguodala's jersey and hoist it up into the rafters at Chase Center. That'll be a very fun game. Not going to want to miss that one at all. But other than all those things, the best thing for the Warriors right now is this break that they get coming up, because this team needs it so damn bad. I mean, Steph's old, Draymond old, Jimmy old. They all need a damn break. This Warriors team is ailing. Gary Payton didn't play tonight, back end of back-to-back. He's been dealing with injuries all year. As we said, Pods has been dealing with injuries all year. We know Kevon Looney is always dealing with some kind of something. That dude's just a warrior and you never really hear about it. There are so many guys on this roster that really need a break right now. And no one more than Jimmy Butler, because he needs to get acclimated to this team and he can use this All-Star break to do just that. On the other side, we got a lot to talk about from tonight, but I want to talk about a little bit about what's coming up for this All-Star weekend for the Warriors. Some of it has already started, and I mean, we gotta talk about it. I mean, it's the All-Star weekend in San Francisco, man. San Francisco's back, dude. We'll talk about it next here on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and tonight, the Warriors 105-98 winners over the Houston Rockets. Steph gets a nice standing O from a crowd in Houston, a crowd of Dubs fans. Amazing. It's like the last place I would expect that to happen in the NBA for that guy, but he's Steph Curry. Everybody loves him everywhere he goes. I have said this before, and I'll say it again. If aliens land on Earth, I'm voting Steph Curry to go be the guy, to go be our representative of the human race. And he will be our diplomat, because there's no more perfect human than Steph Curry. And thankfully, we all get to recognize his greatness on full display this weekend at the All-Star game at Chase Center in his home palace. And Steph Curry is the only Warrior on the All-Star roster. Now, there's plenty of other things happening before Sunday. That's when the All-Star game is. Steph is, as I said, the only Golden State Warrior on the actual All-Star team. But there's Warriors littered all throughout this All-Star weekend. You have the Rising Stars Challenge. Brandon Podziemski, TJD, and Pat Spencer getting a nod in the Rising Stars Challenge. So you get 3 Warriors there. You get Draymond Green and Moses Moody in the Skills Challenge on Saturday. And you get, this is probably the most hilarious one to me, Buddy Hield in the Starry 3-point shooting contest on Saturday. And man, did whoever put this together just look at the first 2 weeks of the season and then decide to put Buddy in the 3-point contest? Or I am so confused as to why Buddy Hield is there. I mean, this guy has not been able to buy a bucket from 3-point range in a while for the Warriors in a meaningful game. Let's hope that maybe he goes in there and just like starts cashing them and carries that momentum into the post All-Star break games. I mean, maybe Buddy just needs to see a few go in the net, and maybe just seeing a few go in at the All-Star game in the 3-point contest, maybe that gives him some momentum. So I don't know. I'll be rooting for Buddy, but it's been up and down all year with him. But we don't need to get into the negatives right now, but the Warriors All-Star weekend, man, this is going to be a very fun event. There are concerts all over San Francisco, but specifically there are concerts tomorrow night, Saturday night, and Sunday night, all very, they're sponsored by the NBA, like they're directly associated with the NBA All-Star Weekend, and they're at Pier 48. Got all sorts of people from like Flo Rida to like 2 Chainz, Noah Khan. So, I mean, that'll be a fun thing if you're able to get out there. Just things all over the city. The Moscone Center, they have the G League Next Up game on Sunday, and they also have all sorts of events between now and all through the weekend of just showcasing the NBA and the intersection between culture and basketball and all those kinds of things. You got the All-Star Alley pop-up between Market and Union Square on Powell Street. If you're watching the broadcast, you keep hearing Kalena and Bob talking about Kalena's cornbread. Kalena Azubuike's got a little pop-up down there. Tonight they were talking on the broadcast about how Festus Ezeli apparently came down there and ate them out of house and home, just ate all the cornbread and left none for the rest of Dub Nation. So maybe if you make it out there tomorrow, there will be some remnants or some crumbs left. Hit up Fezzy Fell on and let him know that you're not happy that he stole all the cornbread, man. But get out there. It should be pretty fun. And there's tons and tons and tons of Warriors and NBA All-Star memorabilia and merchandise, even some Valkyrie swag down there. It should be a really good time. I'm going to make my way out there over the weekend as well and see what's going on. Plus, Thrive City, right outside of Chase Center, even if you're not going to the All-Star game, it's going to be amazing. Just a vibe out there. I mean, they just opened that new sports bar, the Splash Sports Bar, which looks like something that should be in Vegas, not in San Francisco. Looks absolutely amazing and super, super, super fancy. There are so many things to do this weekend. We didn't even talk about all of the other concerts that are happening all around the weekend with like Saweetie playing, like Ray J and Bobby Bracken's playing tonight in San Jose, Shabuzi playing live. I mean, there's so many other concerts around. The NBA All-Star Weekend has reinvigorated, has breathed life back into San Francisco, man. You can feel it just walking around the city. You can see all the graphics painted on all the buses, on all the city buses, all the billboards all over town, especially as you get over towards Union Square and Chase Center. And it's just a vibe, man. So if you are thinking about getting out to the city for All-Star Weekend, even if you don't have a ticket, man, do it. And also, by the way, if you are still looking for a ticket to any of these events this weekend, like, it might be hard to come by a ticket to the actual All-Star game, but let's be real. Who really wants to watch the All-Star game these days? In recent years, it's been pretty damn bad. But you know what is still available for some pretty reasonable prices is the NBA Rising Stars Challenge. Tomorrow night starts at 6. I'm seeing tickets for under $70 on our sponsor Game Time. So make sure you go and check that out. If you have any desire to get out here to the city and go participate in any of these events, I mean, the last time that there was an All-Star thing here in San Francisco, I was absolutely there. I mean, I'm thinking maybe there was another one, but the one I'm thinking of was 2007 MLB All-Star Game with the Giants. And like, that was such an event. It was such a fun event. And stumbling over my words, but that was such a fun event that like, I still have all these memories seared into my brain, like meeting Peter McGowan. I have a picture of like little Triple E next to Peter McGowan, which is pretty funny. I don't think I even had any clue who that guy was at the time, but I mean, that's what you're, open up the door for. You're going to be rubbing elbows with the upper echelon of, these elite guys in the NBA of all of the who's who of the Warriors and other, organizations. And it's going to be a great time to get out there, just a celebration of basketball and a celebration of San Francisco. And obviously a celebration of Stephen Curry. It's a celebration, to quote my all-time favorite Key and Peele skit. If you know, you know. But tonight, the Warriors, 105-98 win over the Rockets. Tons of good vibes going into the All-Star break. The Warriors get a rest. And Steph, we get to finally see him front and center at Chase Center. I mean, this should be just an absolute spectacle. This should just be everyone I cannot wait to hear what Chase Center sounds like when they introduce Steph Curry for the All-Star game. Not that excited about the All-Star game in general. Just want to see the fan reaction and admiration for Stephen Wardell Curry, and he deserves every single bit of it. Steph led the way tonight with 27 points, 5 boards, and 3 assists. He had 5 threes. Warriors win, even though they shot less than 40% from the field, less than 30% from 3. You get 24 made free throws. You force 20 turnovers for the Rockets. You win by more than 10 points in the points off turnover battle. It's a good way to win a game. And you, of course, had the clutch play down the stretch of Jimmy, Steph, and Draymond. I'm excited about this basketball team. I am fully ready to go for post-All-Star basketball. And I mean, every single game from this point on matters. And it's going to be fun, man. Every single Warriors game is going to be super entertaining for the rest of this season. If nothing else, you got some fun to look forward to just watching the Warriors. And that is something that we couldn't say about this team just a couple weeks ago. That's all the time that we got for you guys today. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Locked On Warriors postcast. As I said, we're taking quite a long break. We'll be back a week from tomorrow when the Warriors play the Kings, their first game out of the All-Star break. That will be on Friday, February 21st. So a little break for me, a little break for you guys from listening to me talk all the damn time. But, hopefully you guys enjoyed the show tonight. We'll be back at it next week, Friday, February 21st, after the Warriors and Kings play. Good win tonight for the Warriors. They're finding their identity. I'm stoked. That's all the time that we got for you guys today. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll see you next time. Peace.